What as a kid did you believe was normal, but looking back it was seriously messed up? Growing up, I thought everybody's dad had imaginary friends who made them cry and shout. I hated these friends. One time when I was 6 years old, my dad threw a plate across the room, shattering it against the wall. "Josh, stop, get out of my head." He ran upstairs after that, and I remember breaking down crying. I hated Josh, whoever he was. I followed my dad upstairs, hoping to maybe catch him talking to his imaginary friends so I could step in and give out to them for making my dad. But instead, I saw something that made me happy. My dad was convinced by another imaginary friend of his to take something. It was some sort of medicine. My dad passed out on his bed right after, and I remember being so happy he had at least one imaginary friend who chose to help him and calm him down. That was the night I made the decision to protect my dad. I decided I needed to scare his imaginary friends away. And so, every time he started arguing with them, I started yelling at the corners too, telling those mean imaginary people to leave him alone. But the first time I tried, Dad looked terrified. He grabbed me by the shoulders and begged, his voice cracking, telling me never to talk to them again. I could tell it made things worse for him, and after that, I just felt helpless. But I still wanted to help somehow. I figured if Dad's imaginary friends were going to stick around, maybe they could at least be nice. So I came up with my own imaginary friends. Mine were friendly and funny. I'd host gatherings with empty chairs and pretend conversations, laughing and giggling, making sure Dad saw how much fun I was having. I hoped it'd teach him that pretend people didn't have to be mean, that maybe he could trade Josh and the others for nicer friends, but that didn't help either. If anything, Dad got worse. Sometimes he'd just stare at me with this creepy look. One day, while we were eating lunch, he leaned close and whispered, "You see them too?" I could hear the trembling in his voice, and I saw tears well up in his eyes. It freaked me out, but it broke my heart too. He looked like he felt guilty, like he'd passed some horrible secret down to me. From then on, he'd talk to me about it sometimes, whispering things like, "I'm sorry, kid, at least now you understand." It made me feel weird, scared and confused, but also kinda special, like we had a secret together. But then came the worst night. Dad had been yelling for hours, his voice hoarse and desperate, so loud it echoed around our apartment. He yelled especially loud at Josh. When he finally crashed and went quiet, I snuck into his room with the intention of making sure the friends hadn't harmed my dad. Thankfully, I found him asleep without injuries, but then I discovered something even worse, a diary hidden under the bed. My heart stopped when I read what was inside. Turns out, Josh wasn't an imaginary friend. Josh was Dad's childhood best friend, who passed away drunk driving while in the same car as my dad, and Dad couldn't stop seeing him. What's even worse, Dad had written down that Josh was telling him to unalive me and then himself to end our suffering. I stared at those words for a long minute, feeling like I couldn't breathe. I didn't want to die. I don't remember running to the phone, but I remember holding it and whispering to the 911 operator, "My daddy's imaginary friends want him to hurt me, and I need help making them go away forever." I couldn't tell you what happened next. The full story is on my channel and linked below.